This is a picture from one of my most memorable trip in Muktinath, Nepal, and I really love this place. This is like one of my favorite places, and I'm just gonna try to paint it. So when I like to paint, I start with an inspiration picture, but I don't necessarily try to copy everything that's there. I just use it as an inspiration because I'm not abstract, so I can't really think of something right away. So it helps me to have an inspiration picture so I can have something to work towards. But then I take my creative liberty as I go along and just go basically with the flow and see how it feels. The thing about oil pastel with watercolor is that it's a really good way to separate the colors because obviously water and oil don't mix. Just gonna make a little mountains. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is just like so good for me, honestly, to just paint, not thinking about what the results are gonna be. Just paint. And that's pretty much the outline, and you can add more details, but I'm just gonna go with this. And we're gonna add lots of layers as we paint. And that's completes my mountains. Everything else here is river, but there's just like a nice, there you go. So that's my outline. Hope you can see this. And now I'm going to bring in my size 12 brush, and I just love this size. It's very versatile. Can't find words today. Yeah, this size is really versatile, so love this for the landscape. Gonna go right in with I guess it's red ochre. You can use any color. If you want to paint your mountains pink, go for it. There's no one is judging. Just gonna come in here with some shading. So I'm just gonna wet my paper first. Oh, lovely. Love this color. Wet, wet. The way you actually hold your brush and put your strokes actually does matter, because as you can see, if I paint vertically, it adds a different effect versus painting horizontally. So something to just keep in mind. You can be using same color everywhere, but still have different effects based on how you are using your brush strokes. And we're gonna do other colors on top of it, but for now. And this one is more like a rocky. It's almost like soil has been eroded due to water. This place was so quiet, like you couldn't see any human around it, and just so lovely, clean. Like you could actually drink, which I did actually. You could drink out of the water from this place. So because there was no humans to actually pollute anything, it was just magical. I want to have add some variety, so I'm just going to go with a different yellow here, just for the middle. And as you can see, we have already kind of gone in a different directions from what the paint picture had, and that's fine. This is what I'm looking to do. I love painting because it's just such a good way for me to not follow the rules, honestly. Like, I work and you have so many different responsibilities, and I don't want to do that while I'm painting. Obviously I want to follow some directions, but I love to just try to let myself go, which is really hard for me. Someone who is always like following rules, doing everything by the book. I don't know. I just want to have some lack of structure sometimes in life, and I think painting gives me that. So I'm just going to let that part dry and focus on the river now. So for that, I'm going to pick really beautiful aquamarine. That's just one of my favorite colors to paint with. And then I'm also going to go in with some gray here, because this is not really, it was not a sunny day, so the river actually is very like stone color, like gray, because of the clean water. So I'm gonna mix take some aquamarine, and one single smooth stroke here. And there was like a little slit or like a hole between this, and there was river. You could see the water is going under the mountains, which is really amazing to see. I couldn't quite figure out how that was happening, but there was river under the mountain as well as like that. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of gray, not too much, just a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's good. It's a lot of water and very less color here. That's the look I want in this. All right, some more gray, and yeah, love that. And you can, just to give the waves, you can just move your brush around like that. And I'm not a professional, just a hobby, and I feel like every day I learn something new about the watercolor as it reacts to different strokes, different combination of water and color, paper, pressure, how much pressure you're putting. It's just quite wonderful. All right, so also, like, you can take the color out using just some water just to give it a little shading effect. I love to do that as well. Wow, loving it so far. Okay, so that's my river almost, and I'm just putting in one layer so I can let them dry. And on this side we want to have some pebbles. I don't think I've ever drawn pebbles, so we'll just see how this goes. I'm gonna start with some gray. For the floor or the sand. And maybe some blue. I think blue will look really nice here. Yeah, let's just go with that, see what happens. Just a bit of blue, because there were different types of I should have let that dry. No worries. We'll just deal with that when that is somewhat dry. I'm just gonna add some water. So whenever you make mistake, that's fine. You just add some water and kind of take the paint away. You have to just make sure your paper is not really thin, otherwise it's gonna get really difficult to fix that. But all gone. Nothing was ever there. Painting like it also sometimes teaches me a lot, like from life perspective, not to sound philosophical, but if you make a mistake, you just basically go back and fix it. You own the mistake and you fix it. And sometimes there's no mistake, you just kind of move on from it. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, and you just have to accept it, because if I try so hard to fix something and it's just not gonna work, that's gonna make your painting even worse and worse, as opposed to just moving on from it and maybe look back at it later on. Just some food for thought. And for whatever reason, I felt like I want to add that blue there, so which is what I'm going to do. It's like sand and water together, so there's no separation between land and water, so it just kind of works, I think. And I'm going to take some of the extra black out, because that's too black. I don't like that. Okay, and that is good. And the sky is looking really nice. Kind of want to leave it white, but maybe just a tiny bit of blue, very slightly blue. I'm just gonna add, so that's another thing, the moment you add water and just like dab a bit of color, it just starts spreading out itself. Just so therapeutic just to watch this. Love that. And you can obviously blend it. And that's because I already had some water on the paper. Just be careful you're not touching a wet, otherwise that color will spread everywhere. So watercolor is just like wherever there's water, it will spread. Lovely. I like that blue. It's like very mild, exactly how it was when I was there that day. Nice. Okay, so we have like one layer on. Now let's see. So this time I'm coming in with some thick color. So there's water obviously, but not as much as before. So I want to give it somewhat of a rich color. So less water, more color this time. And I'm just trying to be intentionally kind of not perfect in these lines. So literally take some color, water, and just pushing it, leaving it. I'm not trying to be perfect here. It's just showing some of the imperfections in these rocks or mountains. And why not? Let's just go here as well. More of layers. So I'm just gonna build the layer. And I'm gonna pick the same orange on this side. I don't like how orange this is though. Like it's very orangey, kind of want to mix something there, so go with some of the other color. This one, yeah, this is good. I don't want it to look like so fake either. Actually, this is actually good. I don't mind this brown. It's actually not brown, it's burnt umber. Yeah. And there were these markings everywhere throughout the whole range. It almost looked like somebody carved it, but it was all natural. Like there were so many carvings everywhere in that area. Just so mind-blowing. I'm just bringing in some water to kind of spread it out a bit, so I can still maintain that color. Oh, that was a lot. I think we're gonna keep using that throughout. Like that. Add some more water here to spread the paint around because I took so much. I want it kind of muted, not too dark, because I don't want to take away from the mountains. Here, my main, I guess my focal point is the mountains. So everything else has to kind of be muted, and so there's a perfect harmony. And I'm gonna just dab a bit here. All right, there we go. Yeah, much better. This paper is MVP. Like, for the amount of changes that I make, this is great. Like, this is able to sustain everything. I'm really happy with this quality. And I'm not, advertising or anything, but just my humble opinion. This gray is really good for muting things down, so adds a little tint to it, which is great. And I want to add some of that waviness. Take some gray, because usually the pebbles are gray. This is dry now, so if you made it this far, hearing me blabber through this, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Do come back. I plan on making things like this more often.